Hi, my name is Wangu Kanja from the Wangu Kanja Foundation. I'm the founder and executive director. Wangu Kanja Foundation works towards amplifying the voices of survivors of sexual violence, their voices, their choice, their agency, towards gender justice, but then also making sure that we are able to uphold human rights. We also convene the Survivors of Sexual Violence in Kenya network and also a coalition of 15 women rights organization and civil society organization called the Coalition Against Sexual Violence.
Yeah, here we are at an event by the police reforms working group. Yeah, what did you feel it is important for you to avail yourself in this particular meeting?
Okay, so just to mention that we are members of the Police Reform Working Group. For us to be able to address sexual violence comprehensively, we also need to address police reforms so that the interventions that are under the National Police Service are able to be survivor-centered and trauma-informed, but more specifically for police officers to uphold the rule of law, but then also treat survivors of sexual and gender-based violence with dignity and respect.
You mentioned about the coalition, and the last time we talked to you, you talked talked to us about the coalition. How far has the coalition reached, and what programs and what projects have you been able to do as a coalition, or what are you aiming to do?
So one, we launched the strategic plan to be the roadmap of how we intervene when it comes to addressing sexual violence in Kenya. So the much we've been able to do is we actually have two research studies that we have commissioned. Hopefully we are in April, May or June, we are actually going to have validation workshops where we are going to disseminate the information, findings of the different violations in plantations. In this case, the tea plantations, but then also the other one is on gender-based the different forms of gender-based violence in education, in institutions of education. And then we hopefully from those two research studies we will be able to have recommendations, and we implement them as we continue looking at the different aspects that were articulated under the strategic plan.
Yeah. Now that was your plan, yeah. And the other day we saw an organization called Cradle Africa, and I think they also involved you because I think we met in that particular meeting. Yeah, they were saying that they want the Sexual Act, and that is what most you deal with, to be amended. They said that it was last amended in 2006. What do you think about this? Do you think it is the right time to amend the act, or do we need more time?
Okay, so I think it's the right time because we can't say there is a wrong time to either conduct reforms or review laws. So the laws, I can say the laws are not cast on stone. We can continuously change them to suit the current context. So the Cradle Children Foundation are actually suggesting some amendments in the sexual offences bill so that we bring the current context. Between 2006 and now, there are things that have changed. Technology is being used by children and also by different organizations to collect data and to address issues. The other thing is there are certain violations that were not included in the Sexual Offences Act that need to be included now. For example, technologically related or facilitated sexual violence. So we need to incorporate that, and we need to incorporate the evolution of time, because if we don't change and we do not contextualize the Sexual Offences Act, then we will miss out to address other forms of sexual offenses in this current era.
Yeah. So when you're forming this coalition, you implemented some strategical plans that maybe you adapted from the Constitution and the Amendment. Because I remember that day you are very vocal, even correcting people. You are being called lecturer Wangu Kanja, isn't it? Yeah. So with these particular reforms, yeah, as a coalition, have you come together to look at this particular amendment, and what was your response to the Cradle Africa?
So we actually, members of the coalition have joined the committee working on the reviewing of the Sexual Offences Amendment Bill. And we are looking at how do we bring our different technical expertise to enrich the amendment bill. So we have members of the Police Reform Working Group contributing towards that process, but then also members of the Coalition Against Sexual Violence contributing towards the amendment bill. But then it's a process. We cannot just do it, wake up one day and say we are working on the document without public participation. Moving forward, we are going to facilitate conversations with survivors of sexual violence to contribute towards the bill, religious leaders, engaging men to also get their views so that we can say we have done public participation. So when we get the bill in Parliament, when it's in session, that's what, in July, then we will have talked to various groups towards ensuring that we have incorporated all other groups' voices into the conversation.
Yeah, about those particular bills that were being suggested, a lot of people and members of parliament who are presented onto that particular bill, they said that the amendment act that the Cradle Africa is suggesting focused so much on Western rules and Western regulations, and they want to implement them here in Kenya. Do you think that is so, and do you think that they may work?
So one, I don't think we are focusing on what is happening in the Western world, because whatever is happening in Europe will definitely affect Africa. And then also, even as we are engaging with technology and the different global platforms, there are emerging issues that we need to adopt. And in adopting, that means we need to align our laws, our legal frameworks, in line what is recommended at the global platform. Kenya is a signatory to the different international legal instruments, and that's what we are trying to align to. If you look at the different issues that are affecting people every other day, it means we need to incorporate issues of mental health. We need to incorporate issues that we might have overlooked when it comes to technology, data collection, and then additional sexual offenses that we might not have thought about. So it's not a matter of saying we are borrowing from Europe or the West. All we are saying is what are the new things, emerging issues in our Kenyan context that we need to incorporate in the new amendment bill.
Let me touch on one particular amendment that maybe is also associated with the Police Reform Working Group. There is one controversy rule that they are saying that parents who don't report cases of sexual violence on their children, first of all, should be arrested and be fined heftily. And secondly is that sexual cases should not be dealt on what they call like tumeelewana, like a good ADR kind of way. And what do you think about this? Do you think this is going to work, or do you think this is harsh to the parents?
One, to protect the rights of the child, we need to protect the children, and there is a clear law that is protecting the children. So for us, what we are saying is whether it is their biological parent or adopted parent, any parent has the right to protect. And if you are not protecting, the state can actually take action against you, because children cannot consent to having sexual relationships with anyone. And it's articulated under the Sexual Offences Act, the current Sexual Offences Act. So what we are just emphasizing is so that we are able to protect these children, we need to have very strict and stringent measures to protect the child. Because at the end of the day, if we don't do that, we will be getting people where they are sitting to do ADR, alternative dispute resolutions, on behalf of children, and which is wrong. So if you're protecting, let's say, a 1-year-old child who the parent has not come out and to report a sexual offense, you as a parent, you're actually denying your child justice. And that's what we are saying. We need for adults to step in and protect that child. Yeah.
But when it comes to justice, a lot of people give excuses that the justice system is long. And when you go to the police stations, there is a gender desk, yeah, but maybe the reception is quite different. Can you give us your experience when you have gone to report sexual cases and how police deal with you in relation to this particular meeting of today?
So, one, we have gender desks, and we are saying they have gaps. But then, as we talk about reforms, one of the things that we are suggesting is to actually have a specialized unit to address issues of sexual and gender-based violence so that the interventions can be more survivor-centered and trauma-informed, but effective towards delivering access to justice for the survivors or the person who has been affected. Yeah.
So what are your current suggestions, maybe as we come to a conclusion?
So for me, one, we need to set up a specialized police unit, align all the police officers under the gender desk to the unit, and then also enhance the current coordination mechanism so that they can facilitate conversation with all duty bearers to ensure that we are not re-victimizing survivors, but then also we are not duplicating efforts, because we have three pillars. We have health, security, and justice. And if we have the different the government agencies under the three pillars come together and have a conversation, we will reduce on duplication, which will reduce on re-traumatization and also re-victimization of survivors. So for me, it's how do we bring our concerted efforts together? Because all the three pillars, we are dealing with government agencies that can speak to each other and make sure that the survivor is at the heart of the conversation, and all interventions that are developed or are put in place are actually in the best interest of the survivor.
Thank you so much for talking to us this particular time. I don't know if people what time they are going to be watching, but thank you so much for talking to us. Please look at the camera and tell us your call for action today, finally.
As an organization that works with survivors, join us to make sure that we are able to amplify survivors' voices, their choices, and also their agency, and in ensuring that they are able to access justice.
Thank you so much. Hapa tunasemaga tunaona, tunasikia na tutabonga. We are going to keep speaking about these issues. Thank you so much, Wangu Kanja.
Sawa.
Tunaona, tunasikia na tutabonga. The voice.